Hello Manchester United fans, I'm sure you've seen the news today that Zidane Iqbal is likely to leave Manchester United this summer with a €1 million bid being accepted from FC Utrecht. We asked our writer Steven Railston, who has seen Zidane Iqbal a lot throughout the youth ranks at Manchester United, to give us a little bit of information for those who may not have seen him that much and want to know more about this proposed transfer from Man United. So, Steven, where has this transfer news come from? What sort of level would you say he is, and what do you think of the move?
It's been really interesting, to be fair. I mean, I think it's fair to say the move kind of came out of nowhere on Tuesday night. I was not expecting that from the people you talk at the club and the people around the player. I think a loan seemed the most likely outcome this summer, and it felt inevitable. Iqbal tried to leave in the January window, and that was denied. He was obviously kept around the first team. So this kind of move to Utrecht, this kind of came out of the blue a bit. So I'm surprised, yeah, I'm definitely surprised. And I guess the fee as well, £1 million. €1 million should I say, it's not even pounds, that equates to around £850,000 in British sterling. So I think that's really surprised supporters, because they're thinking, look, we should be getting a bit more from one of the leading prospects he would be considered as, really, in the last 2 seasons in the academy. He obviously had a fantastic breakout tour. They went to Thailand and Australia last summer, and Iqbal and Charlie Savage were brilliant in some of those midfield games, and obviously supporters kind of really cottoned on to him then and started to follow his progress. But I guess the thing is that he's just not played this season, and that's where the frustration has come from on the player side of things. I mean, he's made 17 match day squads. He's not made a single appearance, which is obviously very, very, very disappointing for him after a promising pre-season tour. And he's kind of stuck in the middle now, where he's above under 21 level, and when he plays for the under 21s, he really stands out and he excels and he looks really competent. I think back to playing against Bolton in December. I was there at the formerly named Reebok Stadium, and he was excellent. He was the best player on the pitch, or one of the best players, dropping in this number 6 role, dropping deep, spreading the ball around. And Bolton are in League One, so that suggests he could definitely play a championship level at least. I thought a loan to the championship would be really good for him. So no, going across the Eredivisie, yeah, it's been a bit of a shock. I think he'll do really well in that division. I think he'd really excel in that number 6 role, as I've just said. It's kind of technical, isn't it? A slower pace, the Dutch top tier, and he could definitely dictate the tempo of games, just drop back, and he's got great passing ability, so he's got no problem kind of, breaking the lines and finding his teammates up in final third scenarios. So that's a real strength of his as well. So an interesting move, a very interesting move.
What value does this move have for Man United, especially with the location? Why Utrecht and not someone in the Championship?
Well, I think it's definitely come down to the player side, this move, I would say. I think it's frustration, pardon me, a lack of game time's had a huge say in it. And you look at Kobbie Mainoo, for example, who is another really well-regarded midfield prospect. He's played more than Iqbal this season. He's 2 years younger than him. He's 18 years old, and he's played against Charlton in the League Cup. He played against Leicester in the Premier League. And Iqbal's been watching on, and I think he's been watching on and thinking, why am I not playing Erik ten Hag? Why am I not being given a chance? So I think that's had to say. He's contracted until 2025. He actually signed a new contract last year. But I would say that's had the biggest role. He wants first team football. Why the Eredivisie? I think Utrecht, it's a really interesting move. I think his style of football, as I've said, will really work in that division. But he signed for Ten Hag's agency in April, Sports Entertainment Group. And at the time, I kind of looked at that and I thought, they'll definitely get him a loan move. And I think that's why he switched agency. But it turns out, as it transpires, they promised him a move to the Dutch top flight. They've got links in Holland, obviously with Ten Hag, and they've got other Dutch players on the books. So that's where that move came from. Because on the surface, it is a bit of a bizarre move, isn't it, really? You'd think he'd stay in Britain, obviously a Manchester-born lad. But that's another thing worth talking about, to be fair. Obviously, first British Asian to represent the club, and he'll always have that legacy. It's a fantastic legacy to have. Incredibly proud to make his debut against Young Boys in December 2021. He obviously came on with Savage as well. So for all he'll leave the club, he'll always be remembered for that in the history books, and it was an important first step, because those players are unfortunately represented in the game still.
And finally, Stephen, what are Manchester United losing in this transfer? Where do Iqbal's strengths sort of lie? And what are Utrecht getting in him that Man United can't get out of him?
I think a really promising number 6, a really exciting midfielder. As I said in my early answer, his passing is great. His ability to break the lines, he gets his head up, he's confident on the ball. And whenever I've watched him, that's really stood out. He'll receive the ball and he's almost kind of drops him between those centre backs and kind of dictates play in that way, dictates tempo. And that's the player Utrecht are getting. And they're obviously looking at his potential. They're looking at the ceiling he might have, which is yet to be reached, and it's a fantastic deal for them. There's obviously a huge sellout clause, a significant sellout clause in the deal, so if he is to move on, let's say to bigger things, with no disrespect to Utrecht, United will recoup a bit of that, so that's obviously another key part of the deal, really.
Thank you, Stephen. It was very nice to speak to you. Make sure, Manchester United fans, you check out the Manchester Evening News for all the best Manchester United updates. Check out the Manchester is Red podcast. We did one on Monday and there'll be another one on Friday for all the best Manchester United news from our writers. And I'll speak to you next time.